a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Michael Jackson. Michael Joseph Jackson was an American singer, songwriter, and dancer. Dubbed the King of Pop, he was one of the most popular entertainers in the world and one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Jackson's contributions to music, dance, and fashion along with his publicized personal life made him a global figure in popular culture for over 4 decades. The 8th child of the Jackson family, Michael made his professional debut in 1964 with his elder brothers Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon as a member of the Jackson 5. He began his solo career in 1971 while at Motown Records. In the early 1980s, Jackson became a dominant figure in popular music. His music videos, including those of Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller, from his 1982 album Thriller, are credited with breaking racial barriers and transforming the medium into an art form and promotional tool. The popularity of these videos helped bring the television channel MTV to fame. Jackson's 1987 album Bad spawned the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles, I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Dirty Diana, becoming the first album to have 5 #1 singles in the nation. He continued to innovate with videos such as Black or White and Scream throughout the 1990s, and forged a reputation as a touring solo artist through stage and video performances. Jackson popularized a number of complicated dance techniques, such as the robot in the moonwalk, to which he gave the name. His distinctive sound and style has influenced numerous artists of various music genres. Thriller is the best-selling album of all time, with estimated sales of over 66 million copies worldwide. Jackson's other albums, including Off the Wall, Bad, Dangerous, and H.I. Story, also rank among the world's best-selling albums. He is one of the few artists to have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, and was also inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Dance Hall of Fame as the only dancer from pop and rock music. His other achievements include multiple Guinness World Records, including the most successful entertainer of all time, 13 Grammy Awards, the Grammy Legend Award, the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, 24 American Music Awards, more than any other artist, including the Artist of the Century, 13 #1 singles in the United States during his solo career, more than any other male artist in the Hot 100 era, and estimated sales of over 350 million records worldwide. Jackson won hundreds of awards, making him the most awarded recording artist in the history of popular music. He became the first artist in history to have a top 10 single in the Billboard Hot 100 in 5 different decades when Love Never Felt So Good reached number 9 in 2014. Jackson is also remembered for his philanthropy and pioneering efforts in charitable fundraising in the entertainment industry. He traveled the world attending events honoring his humanitarianism, and, in 2000, the Guinness World Records recognized him for supporting 39 charities, more than any other entertainer. Jackson became a figure of controversy in the 1980s due to his changing physical appearance, his relationships, and behavior. The controversy intensified due to a 1993 child sexual abuse scandal when a family friend accused him of sexually abusing his son. The case led to an investigation, but was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. In 2005, he was tried and acquitted of further child sexual abuse allegations and several other charges after the jury found him not guilty on all counts. While preparing for his comeback concert series, This Is It, Jackson died of acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication in 2009, after suffering from cardiac arrest. The Los Angeles County coroner ruled his death a homicide, and his personal physician, Conrad Murray, was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Jackson's death triggered a global outpouring of grief and a live broadcast of his public memorial service was viewed around the world. Forbes ranked Jackson as the top-earning deceased celebrity for the 5th consecutive year in 2017. His estate earned $825 million in 2016, the highest yearly amount ever recorded by the magazine. 1958-1975, Early Life in the Jackson 5. Michael Joseph Jackson was born in Gary, Indiana, a part of the Chicago metropolitan area, on August 29, 1958. He was the 8th of 10 children in the Jackson family, a working-class African-American family living in a 2-bedroom house on Jackson Street in Gary. His mother, Catherine Esther Jackson, left the Baptist tradition in 1963 to become a devout Jehovah's Witness. She played clarinet and piano and once aspired to be a country and western performer, but worked part-time at Sears to support the family. His father, Joseph Walter Joe Jackson, a former boxer, was a steel worker at U.S. Steel. Joe performed on guitar with a local rhythm and blues band, the Falcons, to supplement the family's income. Despite being a convinced Lutheran, Joe also participated in his wife's faith, as did all their children. His father's great-grandfather, July Jack Gale, was a Native American medicine man and an U.S. Army Scout. Michael grew up with 3 sisters and 5 brothers. A 6th brother, Marlon's twin Brandon, died shortly after birth. Jackson had a troubled relationship with his father. In 2003, Joe acknowledged that he regularly whipped him as a boy. Joe was also said to have verbally abused his son, often saying that he had a fat nose. Jackson stated that he was physically and emotionally abused during incessant rehearsals, though he credited his father's strict discipline with playing a large role in his success. In an interview with Martin Bashir for the 2003 documentary Living with Michael Jackson, Jackson recalled that Joe often sat in a chair with a belt in his hand as he and his siblings rehearsed, and that, if you didn't do it the right way, he would tear you up, really get you. Jackson's parents have disputed the long-standing allegations of abuse, with Catherine stating that while whipping is considered abuse today, it was a common way to discipline children at the time. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon have also said that their father was not abusive and that the whippings, which were harder on Michael, because he was younger, kept them disciplined and out of trouble. Speaking openly about his childhood in an interview with Oprah Winfrey broadcast in February 1993, Jackson acknowledged that his youth had been lonely and isolating. His deep dissatisfaction with his appearance, his nightmares and chronic sleep problems, his tendency to remain hyper-compliant, especially with his father, and to remain childlike in adulthood are consistent with the effects of the maltreatment he endured as a child. In 1964, Michael and Marlon joined the Jackson Brothers, a band formed by their father which included brothers Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, as backup musicians playing congas and tambourine. In 1965, Michael began sharing lead vocals with his older brother Jermaine, and the group's name was changed to the Jackson 5. The following year, the group won a major local talent show with Jackson performing the dance to Robert Parker's 1965 hit, Barefooting, and singing lead to The Temptations', My Girl. From 1966 to 1968 they toured the Midwest, frequently performing at a string of black clubs known as the Chitlin Circuit, as the opening act for artists such as Sam and Dave, the O'Jays, Gladys Knight, and Etta James. The Jackson 5 also performed at clubs and cocktail lounges, where striptease shows and other adult acts were featured, and at local auditoriums and high school dances. In August 1967, while touring the East Coast, the group won a weekly amateur night concert at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. The Jackson 5 recorded several songs, including their first single, Big Boy, for Motown Records, a Gary record label. Before signing with Motown in 1969, they left Gary in 1969 and relocated to Los Angeles, where they continued to record music for Motown. Rolling Stone later described the young Michael as a prodigy with overwhelming musical gifts, who quickly emerged as the main draw and lead singer. The group set a chart record when its first 4 singles, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In May 1971, the Jackson family moved into a large home on 2-acre estate in Encino, California. During this period, Michael evolved from child performer into a teen idol. As Jackson began to emerge as a solo performer in the early 1970s, he maintained ties to the Jackson 5 and Motown. Between 1972 and 1975, Michael released 4 solo studio albums with Motown: Got to Be There, Ben, Music, and Me, and Forever, Michael. Got to Be There and Ben, the title tracks from his first 2 solo albums, became successful singles, as did a cover of Bobby Daye's Rockin' Robin. The Jackson 5 were later described as a cutting-edge example of black crossover artists, although the group's sales began to decline in 1973, and the members chafed under Motown's refusal to allow them creative input. They achieved several top 40 hits, including the top 5 single, Dancing Machine, before leaving Motown in 1975. 1975, 1981, moved to Epic and Off the Wall. In June 1975, the Jackson 5 signed with Epic Records, a subsidiary of CBS Records, and renamed themselves the Jacksons. Younger brother Randy formally joined the band around this time, while Jermaine chose to stay with Motown and pursue a solo career. The Jacksons continued to tour internationally, and released 6 more albums between 1976 and 1984. Michael, the group's lead songwriter during this time, wrote hits such as Shake Your Body, This Place Hotel, and Can You Feel It? Jackson's work in film began in 1978, when he moved to New York City to star as the Scarecrow in The Wiz, a musical directed by Sidney Lumet. It co-starred Diana Ross, Nipsey Russell, and Ted Ross. The film was a box office failure. Its score was arranged by Quincy Jones, whom Jackson had previously met when he was 12 at Sammy Davis Jr.'s house. Jones agreed to produce Jackson's next solo album. During his time in New York, Jackson frequented the Studio 54 nightclub and was exposed to early hip-hop, influencing his beatboxing on future tracks such as Working Day and Night. In 1979, Jackson broke his nose during a complex dance routine. His subsequent rhinoplasty was not a complete success. He complained of breathing difficulties that would affect his career. He was referred to Dr. Stephen Hoeflin, who performed Jackson's second rhinoplasty and subsequent operations. Jackson's 5th solo album, Off the Wall, co-produced by Jackson and Jones, established Jackson as a solo performer. The album helped Jackson transition from the bubblegum pop of his youth to the more complex sounds he would create as an adult. Songwriters for the album included Jackson, Rod Temperton, Stevie Wonder, and Paul McCartney. Off the Wall was the first solo album to generate 4 top 10 hits in the United States. Off the Wall, She's Out of My Life, and the chart-topping singles, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and Rock With You. The album reached number 3 on the Billboard 200 and eventually sold over 20 million copies worldwide. In 1980, Jackson won 3 awards at the American Music Awards for his solo efforts: Favorite Soul/R&B Album, Favorite Soul/R&B Male Artist, and Favorite Soul/R&B Single for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. He also won Billboard Year-End Awards for Top Black Artist and Top Black Album, and a Grammy Award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance for 1979 with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. In 1981, Jackson was the American Music Awards winner for Favorite Soul/R&B Album and Favorite Soul/R&B Male Artist. Despite its commercial success, Jackson felt Off the Wall should have made a bigger impact, and was determined to exceed expectations with his next release. In 1980, he secured the highest royalty rate in the music industry, 37% of wholesale album profit. Jackson recorded with Queen singer Freddie Mercury from 1981 to 1983, including a demo of State of Shock, Victory, and There Must Be More to Life Than This. The recordings were intended for an album of duets but, according to Queen's then-manager Jim Beach, the relationship between the singers soured when Jackson insisted on bringing a llama into the recording studio. The collaborations were not officially released until 2014. Jackson went on to record the single, State of Shock, with Mick Jagger for the Jacksons' album Victory. Mercury included the solo version of There Must Be More to Life Than This on his Mr. Bad Guy album. In 1982, Jackson combined his interests in songwriting and film when he contributed the song, Someone in the Dark, to the storybook for the film E.T. the Extraterrestrial. The song, with Jones as its producer, won a Grammy for Best Recording for Children for 1983. 1982, 1983, Thriller and Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever. More success came with Jackson's sixth album, Thriller, released in late 1982. The album earned Jackson 7 more Grammys and 8 American Music Awards, including the Award of Merit, the youngest artist to win it. It was the best-selling album worldwide in 1983, and became the best-selling album of all time in the United States and the best-selling album of all time worldwide, selling an estimated copies. It topped the Billboard 200 chart for 37 weeks and was in the top 10 of the 200 for 80 consecutive weeks. It was the first album to have 7 Billboard Hot 100 top 10 singles, including Billie Jean, Beat It, and Wanna Be Startin' Something. In December 2015, Thriller was certified for 30 million shipments by the RIAA, making it the only album to achieve that feat in the United States. Thriller won Jackson and Quincy Jones the Grammy Award for Producer of the Year for 1983. It also won Album of the Year, with Jackson as the album's artist and Jones as its co-producer, and a Best Pop Vocal Performance, Male, award for Jackson. Beat It won Record of the Year, with Jackson as artist and Jones as co-producer, and a Best Rock Vocal Performance, Male, award for Jackson. Billie Jean won Jackson 2 Grammy Awards, Best R&B Song, with Jackson as its songwriter, and Best R&B Vocal Performance, Male, as its artist. Thriller also won another Grammy for Best Engineered Recording Non-Classical in 1984, awarding Bruce Swedien for his work on the album. The AMA Awards for 1984 provided Jackson with an Award of Merit and AMAs for Favorite Male Artist, Soul/R&B, and Favorite Male Artist, Pop/Rock. Beat It won Jackson AMAs for Favorite Video, Soul/R&B, Favorite Video, Pop/Rock, and Favorite Single, Pop/Rock. Thriller won him AMAs for Favorite Album, Soul/R&B, and Favorite Album, Pop/Rock. In addition to the album, Jackson released Thriller, a 14-minute music video directed by John Landis, in 1983. The zombie-themed video defined music videos and broke racial barriers on the Music Television Channel, a fledgling entertainment television channel at the time. In December 2009, the Library of Congress selected the Thriller music video for inclusion in the National Film Registry. It was one of 25 films named that year as works of enduring importance to American culture that would be preserved for all time. As of 2009, Thriller is the only music video to have been inducted into the registry. Jackson had the highest royalty rate in the music industry at that point, approximately $2 for every album sold, and was making record-breaking profits from sales of his recordings. The videocassette of the documentary The Making of Michael Jackson's Thriller sold over 350,000 copies in a few months. The era saw the arrival of novelties such as dolls modeled after Jackson, which appeared in stores in May 1984 at a price of $12. Biographer J. Randy Taraborelli writes that Thriller stopped selling like a leisure item, like a magazine, a toy, tickets to a hit movie, and started selling like a household staple in 1985. The making of Michael Jackson's Thriller won a Grammy for Best Music Video, Longform. Time described Jackson's influence at that point as star of records, radio, rock video, a one-man rescue team for the music business, a songwriter who sets the beat for a decade, a dancer with the fanciest feet on the street, a singer who cuts across all boundaries of taste and style and color too. The New York Times wrote that, in the world of pop music, there is Michael Jackson and there is everybody else. On March 25, 1983. Jackson reunited with his brothers for a performance taped at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium for Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever, an NBC television special. The show aired on May 16, 1983, to an estimated audience of and featured the Jacksons and other Motown stars. It is best remembered for Jackson's solo performance of Billie Jean, which earned Jackson his first Emmy nomination. Wearing a distinctive black sequined jacket and a golf glove decorated with rhinestones, he debuted his signature dance move, the moonwalk, which former Soul Train dancer and Shalimar member Jeffrey Daniel had taught him 3 years earlier. Jackson had originally turned down the invitation to perform at the show, believing he had been doing too much television at the time. At the request of Motown founder Berry Gordy, he agreed to perform in exchange for time to do a solo performance. According to Rolling Stone reporter Michael Gilmore, there are times when you know you are hearing or seeing something extraordinary. That came that night. Jackson's performance drew comparisons to Elvis Presley's and the Beatles' appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show. Anna Kisselgoff of the New York Times wrote in 1988, "The moonwalk that he made famous is an apt metaphor for his dance style. How does he do it? As a technician, he is a great illusionist, a genuine mime. His ability to keep one leg straight as he glides while the other bends and seems to walk requires perfect timing." Gordy said of the performance, "From the first beat of Billie Jean, I was mesmerized. And when he did his iconic moonwalk, I was shocked. It was magic. Michael Jackson went into orbit and never came down." Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?